Our next guest, Representative Drew Springer, back on the show. And Representative Springer, it's been, a slow past 24 hours, right?
It is, and I appreciate Senator Ted Cruz doing a warm-up for me. It's awfully nice of him.
Well, before we get into the news of yesterday, let's talk about you're coming up on Monday. You're going to have 22 town halls in 22 hours. That is, your staff's going to have a lot of coffee and Red Bull, right?
That's exactly right. And probably in the third 22 is in 22 counties. So we'll cover 25,000 square miles in 22 hours. It's sort of a wrap-up. We've done 34 town halls now in the last 5 weeks, and we're going to go out and visit for about 30 minutes at each stop, and really just more of a Q&A and hear from the constituents, and maybe some of the new changes from the last 24 hours may need to be discussed as well.
Well, and you seem to really enjoy these town halls because obviously, I follow you on Twitter, and it seems like every day, every other day, you're at another town hall, and I know that Senator Charles Perry has joined you at some of these, but you're out quite a bit speaking to the voters. What have they been saying to you so far?
No, I mean, one, that they absolutely appreciate somebody that will actually be approachable, that they can talk to. But, they're really pressing the big three things, which is why they send somebody from West Texas to be their representative. They want somebody to represent their rural way of life, their conservative values, and their Christian values. And, when we talk about the things that sort of fall under those categories, whether it's the budget, pro-life, rural schools, that's what's interesting to them. That's what they want to know, that you're down there working for, fighting for, and bringing home.
Well, the 22 town halls, 22 hours, 22 counties, that's a lot. What's the format going to be like? Because y'all got to stay on a pretty tight schedule.
We do, and we're going to start at 4 in the morning in Shamrock, and we'll kick off there, do about 30 minutes, and head down to Wellington, and then Childress, and Turkey, and then Floydada, and start making our way down, and we'll sort of weave around the district there and work my way back till my last one's at 1:30 in the morning in Munster, and so only about 3 blocks from the house. So about 2 o'clock when that hits, I'll be asleep probably within about 3 minutes.
I don't know. You might be really pumped up afterwards.
And Chad, you're exactly right. I love talking with folks. It gets me energized. It makes me remember why I do this, because, I think it's important to go down there and work on these issues. And it's not always the marquee issues. I mean, one of the big issues we've been working on for the last month is the fact that the feds changed the driver's license requirement to get a CDL, and now we don't have any school bus drivers in Texas anymore, and we're about to find a point where kids can't get to school. And so we're tackling issues like that really have a real impact. They may not be as sexy as some of the other things, but it's very, very important.
Representative Drew Springer joining us on the phones right now. How can people find a list of where you're going to be and at what time?
Sure. They can find it at votedrewspringer.com. And we have the list up there. We also have it on our Facebook page, and you can find my Facebook page just under Drew Springer, and it'll pop up there, and it'll have all those laid out there. And we'd love to see everybody out. And then, and as I said, I'm not going to be talking for 20 of the 30 minutes. I'm going to talk for about 2-3 minutes, and then I'm going to kick it out and really hear what the voters and constituents have to ask.
Well, I guess I do have to ask you. Yesterday, Speaker Joe Straus announced that he's not running for re-election and that he's going to be done when his term ends. Were you surprised by the announcement?
I was. I mean, the Speaker said just a few days prior to that he was running again, and he was looking for that 6th term, and I think it caught everybody by surprise. I was amazed at some of the leadership people so I know it surprised most of us.
Well, and you brought up that he had been saying for a while now that he was in for running for re-election, and it was just I know even some of the Texas Tribune reporters who had interviewed him at Tribune Fest, and he had said, I'm running, and that wasn't long ago. What, asking you to get into his mind just a little bit, do you think there was 1 or 2 issues that popped up where he just over the weekend or maybe over the last couple of weeks, he's been thinking, going, it's not worth running again?
I give my thanks for the speaker for serving that long. It is a tough job. I mean, you clearly do not please everybody. The pressure that has to be on your family life and everything else is got to be difficult. And I think that probably is it. As he's always says to everybody, when you think about running again, you ought to go back and talk to your family and your business partners and make sure you're up for it again. And I can just imagine the family pressures with Julie and him that they've faced. And, that probably played about the biggest part of anything. And this is, I've tied the record with everybody else. It's time to pass the reins and move on to the next phase that he's looking for. Not curious to see what it is.
As you know, I visited with Senator Cruz before you came on and asked him his thoughts, because from time to time the senator has weighed in on some Texas legislative issues, and I don't know how every lawmaker feels about that, but he has weighed in before. And Senator Cruz, he wished the speaker well, but also said, my hope is that we'll see a defender of conservatism as the next speaker. Want to get your thoughts, on that type of statement, but also what you would like to see from the next speaker.
No, and I agree with that. Senator Cruz is welcome to weigh in anytime, because Lord knows we weigh in on federal issues as well. So he's welcome in our sandbox anytime he wants. But what really I'm looking for in the next speaker is we have started the process in the Republican caucus to say we have to start electing our next speaker from the caucus. And yesterday we saw, and today we've seen the Democrats already come out and say they're going to block vote. They're going to have litmus tests. And if you don't meet their litmus test, i.e. cow down to the Democrat agenda, then they won't give you their block votes to be speaker. Any speaker that now comes in, and that's the method that they want to get there, clearly is working more on the Democratic agenda than the Republican agenda. And I think that we've got to change that in our caucus to make sure that we elect it. Gone are the days of 20 years ago of yellow dog Democrats. Those folks are all Republicans now. They all vote in the Republican primary. And they're looking for those, like I said, the Christian, conservative, rural issues. And we need to elect somebody from the caucus that can get the majority there.
The split between the more I guess what the Freedom Caucus inside the Texas House and then you have other the rest of the Republicans. It seems like it's a small group versus a large group at times, and there are different factions even within that. Do you think that there can be somebody who emerges that will have a wide a wide swath of support from the Republicans?
No, I think there can. I mean, the way the process is now, we elect somebody who's probably fairly close to the middle of 150. I think if we elected in caucus, we would find somebody fairly close to the middle of 95. So you're not going to ever elect any of the 12 members from the Freedom Caucus, but you're also not going to elect the 12 members on the far left that side with the Democrats enough to be scored in that range of things. You're going to find somebody that's more in the middle line that can build consensuses in both directions. Now, that being said, hey, we work on an awful lot of issues that aren't partisan. And so in that sense, we need to work with Democrats. If Pancho Navarez out of the Valley has a good issue that's a rural issue that's nonpartisan, we need to work with Pancho to see that those go forward, because it not only benefits, Brewster County, but it'll benefit Crosby County. And those things we've got to work together on.
Visiting with Representative Drew Springer. Before I let you go, I know text messages and phone calls get going whenever a big shakeup happens down in Austin. Has anyone called you to see if you'd support them for speaker?
No, they haven't. We've got some arcane laws that sort of basically you have to file to run the speaker before you can ever have that conversation. So, right now we have two guys that are in the race, Chairman Zerwas and Chairman Phil King out of Weatherford. And, Phil has been in there for, he filed before the speaker stepped or said he wasn't going to run again. And so I've had some conversations with Phil. I have not talked to John. I fully expect that we'll probably see 6 or 12 other people sort of venture in and out of this race to see if they have support. And I think some will be coming from the angle that, hey, I can bring the Democrats and a handful of Republicans, and some will say, I think I can bring a majority of the Republicans together that are willing to work with the Democrats on issues that are nonpartisan.
And do you have any interest in the job?
I've got a son that is getting married in November. I got a daughter who's a senior in high school, and that is one that I have not really thought too terribly long and hard. But you're one of 150. You serve 28 million people in the state of Texas, so I'm sure it's crossed every one of our minds at some point. What would it be like to be Speaker? So we'll see where that goes in the future.
Very good, Representative Drew Springer. As always, we appreciate you joining us today. 22 town halls in 22 hours, 22 counties. One more time, where can they get a list and times of those places you'll be at on Monday?
You can get them at votedrewspringer.com or on our Facebook page. And, Chad, appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day.
You too. That's Representative Drew Springer, Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.